Noah looked at his watch. A dusty old Seiko he got as a gift. Small flecks of dirt inside. 4:30 p.m. on the nose. He shook his head. We're cutting it too close. They won't let anyone in after 5. What time is it? I asked. About 5 minutes later than the last time you asked, Noah replied, worried. The RV rattled between cracked pavement and dirt roads, its suspension groaning like a bed with busted springs, each bump and dip throwing us slightly against the seats. Dust streamed behind us in a long broke ribbon, rising from the tires and drifting across the desert. The scrub brush and sun-bleached rocks sliding past the window in endless rows. Noah had to be careful. There are no towns, no gas stations, no help. Out here, if the engine failed or a tire blew, there'd be no one to come for us. Out here, you either fixed it yourself or you had to start walking in 90 to 100 degree heat with possible infected nearby. Noah kept both hands tight on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road ahead, his knuckles pale. We're lucky, he said. Haven't seen a single walker yet. How much farther do you think it is to the Duke's? I tried my best not to annoy him anymore. 3, maybe 4 miles. He adjusted his grip. I was closer, but every entry's jammed. Wrecks, bodies, the infected. Noah exhaled slowly. The outbreak is happening in every city. The highways are full of dead cars and the undead. This is the only way around it all. I noticed Jen sat still, hadn't said anything in a while, was facing straight ahead, staring at a single spot in the distance, trying to whisk the casino into existence. Who is this Duke guy? I asked. Then I noticed Jen broke out of her trance and looked at Noah. The Duke is the leader of the southwestern Indian nations, Noah replied. Navajo, Hopi, Apache, about a dozen different nations, not many years ago. The various tribes decided to have one representative. Why is he called the Duke? I asked. That's not an Indian name. He's a very direct man, Noah said. Doesn't tolerate fools, and I hear is a big fan of John Wayne. Do you know him? I asked. Yes, actually. I met him 20 years ago or so. I used to be what you would call it, a liaison between the U.S. and the various Indian nations in the Southwest. I retired, but I keep getting pulled back in. I guess I made an impression. And talking about impressions, he said, remember, when we get there, we are guests. And don't say more than you need to. If they let you in, they'll probably ask you to work. You say yes to work. I nodded, letting it sit in my mind as the highway came into view. A weather sign flashed past. Desert Star Casino, 2 miles. The highway turned onto a short access road, abandoned buildings lining both sides, dark windows staring like empty eyes. Parking lots were cracked, littered with debris, no lights were on. A mile in, the road ended in a massive iron-plated gate. To both sides rose a reinforced chain link fence, topped with razor wire that stretched until it disappeared into the desert. Noah slowed the RV. "Do me a favor," he said. "Let me do all the talking. Don't do anything stupid. These guys are as jumpy as it is." Outside the gates, Noah cut the engines, looking at the fence for movement. "They should be out here," he muttered. A minute passed, and then another. He looked at his watch. 5:05 p.m. "We're too late," he huffed, adjusting his hands on the wheel. Noah's mind moved fast. We needed a safe place, he thought. He began to think about a safe house, not far away. It was a single-story farmhouse where the prairie overtook the desert. Used to be a cattle farm. It didn't look like much and was broken down now, unless you knew where to look. Where the entrance to a small underground bunker built of concrete with a steel door. The rancher built a bunker that was used to hide drug smugglers going to and from the border. When the guy was busted by the Fed, they sold the property, and eventually it found its way into the hands of the Duke. And Noah knew where it was. But was it still secure? Noah's fingers went to the keys, the ignition, deciding that we were going to go to the safe house and we needed to leave now, when shapes came toward the window. 4 figures. 6 more appeared behind the gate, holding semi-automatic rifles. 2 approached while the others stayed near the gate, watching every movement. Noah rolled down his window. "You're lucky," the guard said. "They told us to wait for you." "State your business." "I'm here to deliver a package to the Duke," Noah said. The guard studied him, looking inside at Jen and myself. He made a call on a military smartphone. After a few moments, the guard announced, "Everyone outside." 2 men entered the RV while we stepped out. "Do you have a gun, knives, or any weapon?" they asked Jen. She shook her head. When it was my turn, I had to hand over my pistol, and then they took my Ziploc bag containing my dry matches and the compass. The gate cracked open. "On foot," the guard ordered. The RV followed behind. Inside the wall, I saw houses, gardens, water tanks, and watchtowers. Beyond them, the casino loomed, massive and dark, yet somehow alive. The reinforced chain-link fence stretched endlessly, encompassing what looked like a small town. I couldn't stop myself from imagining how long and how much was needed to build it. The outbreak was 2, maybe 3 weeks old. Could they have finished it in that time? Perhaps they had started it before the world fell apart. An older man approached, looked to be about 60, and Navajo. "My name is Kaywaykla," he said. "You're Stephen, correct? Follow me." I looked back at Noah. He smiled reassuringly, but I didn't feel reassured. "Are you hungry?" he asked as we walked. "Yes, absolutely." "We're rationing everything," he continued, "including food. But what we have, I think, will be enough." As we neared the casino, a sour smell hit me. Rot, wood, something worse. My eyes caught a gallows in the parking lot, 3 figures swaying slowly in the breeze. They were guilty of theft, caught red-handed, he said without emotion. They won't be left up for too long. Just long enough so everyone can see. I froze, staring at the bodies, realizing that law and punishment here was raw and immediate. You know, Steve, he saw my concern. If you don't want to stay, you can leave. You'll miss out on a hot shower, food, and a bed. All we ask of everyone is that you work and obey the rules. We have no tolerance for crime. Obey the rules and you'll be fine. He led me to a men's locker room. The shower only stays on for a minute, he said. Then you have to wait for a bit for it to be able to be turned back on again. I'm sorry, but we have to ration. I stripped quickly and washed, scrubbing away sweat, dried blood, and dust of the desert. When I finished, my old clothes were gone. What happened to my clothes, I asked. They're in bad shape, beyond cleaning, torn. We're going to throw them and give you these new clothes. We won't let you keep the old ones. We want to keep this place clean and orderly. A little flustered, I asked, what about my Ziploc bag, matches, and compass? You don't understand how important those are to me, what I've been through. You can have them back later, he spoke. I promise. He led me to a VIP room where a few others joined us. He bid me sit down. So what's your story? How'd you get here? He asked. I noticed before I spoke that the other men stood, hands folded, watching me while he sat. I told him about my home in the city and how the attacks began, about what happened to Tom and his family. I tried to ask him about what happened here, the huge fence around the city, but he shook his head and gestured me to continue. This is a very interesting story, he reassured me. I must hear the full tale. I spoke about getting lost in the woods and the other survivors I saw. I told him about losing everything but a Ziploc bag of dried matches and being chased by the dead. Running was your only hope, he agreed. Then I spoke about the cabins, Nick's wife Susan, and Hank's death, about Dale's compass, and the Horde when they attacked the cabins. I didn't say much about what happened on the lake shore afterwards, and I made sure not to mention anything about what Ken had told us about what he knew about the cause of the outbreak and Higashi. The last part was hard, talking about Yashi, Nick, and the agents in black. Mentioning Yashi's fate caused Kaywaykla to breathe a little deeper and slower. If you see the men in black, do not trust them, I warned. Tell everyone to run, hide, stay as far away as they can. I will, he said. I finished my story with meeting Noah, Jen, and about arriving here. Kaywaykla asked me about what skills I might have. What was I good at? Guns, computers, running from the dead, I said. We talked a little bit more before he got up and bid me follow. We don't have many rooms left available. You're very lucky to get one, he told me. He handed me a key, saying, I'll show you to your room later. Let's get you something to eat first. We walked into a main hall. The casino's gambling tables and slot machines were gone, replaced by chairs and long tables for meals. Evening had fallen, and people filed in quietly, some going to the showers, others headed straight for the food. Kaywaykla took us to the front of the line. Hey, Bo, he said. We have to cut in line. This guy's new. No problem, he said. Plenty to go around. I'm Bo, by the way. He offered his hand. Steve, I said, shaking his hand, introducing myself. When I got my plate, it wasn't full, but it was hot, and I was grateful. We sat. I noticed Kaywaykla hadn't taken a plate. Won't you eat? I'll eat later, he said. My job is to get you taken care of. I was nearly finished eating when Kaywaykla's walkie sparked to life. I couldn't hear much over the loud rumble of voices in the dining room, but what I did hear caused my heart to skip a beat. Everyone east, bring everything you got. Outside, I could see figures in the setting sun go sprinting toward the east wall, weapons in hand. I wasn't the only one to notice. Others nearby had stopped mid-bite to look worriedly at Kaywaykla and his walkie. Silence began to fill the hall. A few stragglers outside in the parking lot had stopped to watch the guards go running by. A few moments later, they ran in terror for the casino. When the doors opened, a moan so loud it caused the air inside the dining room to rumble was followed by screaming like no human could ever make. I could see some panicking in the hall, standing up, hands clasped as if praying to Kaywaykla against the horror outside. He stood up with determined smile, reassuring those who were frightened. Using calm words, he held shaking hands as he went to the front doors, telling everyone it would be okay. An uneasy silence betrayed the screaming terror coming from the east. Kaywaykla lifted the walkie toward us, toward the hall. Noise of the dam could be heard, mixed in with orders from the men moving into position. Infected crashing against the chain-linked wall. It was the largest horde they had visited yet. Kaywaykla opened the doors. Moans, screams, and metal smashed together. I began to sweat uncontrollably, my eyes wide with terror. He pulled the walkie back to his mouth and spoke one word. Fire. I never heard gunfire like that before. Deafening, drowning out all other noise. It was ridiculously loud. The plate glass windows vibrated. The floor trembled. Kaywaykla stood. Open door, facing out, defiant, daring the monsters that were at the wall to come and get him. And he turned and looked back at the hall, at every table, and maybe at every single person. I swear, he was enthralled by all this intention, soaking it all in. But no monster came, no horde ran in, no one was bitten or torn apart, nobody turned into a zombie. Gunfire lasted as time passed, until the noise outside began to quiet. Bones disappeared one by one, and the screams were no more. And then finally, it all came to a halt. The gunfire and the zombies. Kaywaykla spoke a few words into the walkie and listened as the guards gave their updates. Every eye in the dining room was upon him. Then he looked at us and started clapping his hands, encouraging others to follow. When everyone was applauding, he held the walkie out toward us, pressed to talk, and watched, a big grin on his face, as we gave the guards at the wall a standing ovation. Then a chant began. One word. Couldn't hear it. I thought I was stupid. Death had just visited us. Do they know what's out there? This isn't a game. Until I realized what the one word was. Duke. The Duke put away the walkie-talkie and loudly said, "Eat," throwing up his hands in dramatic fashion. Outside, the desert stretched endlessly, silent and empty, while the darkness of the compound tried to keep us hidden. Inside those walls, every comfort had a price. Safety, food, sleep, even mercy. Nothing came without owing, and I was already in debt.